Synchromysticism, coincidences that reveal another reality. Well, I don't call it coincidences, I call it Christ flirting with you. Synchromysticism, coincidences that reveal another reality. Synchromysticism is an emerging field of study that moves on the fringes of subculture and primarily investigates mysticism in relation to synchronicity and Jungian psychology. The composite word stemming from synchronicity and mysticism was coined by Jake Kotz in August 2006 in an article he wrote on the Brave New World Order website, where he described this new trend as the art of recognizing the important coincidences that initially seem meaningless but hide within them a mystical and inner meaning. Synchromysticism analyzes the internal symbols that may originate from the collective unconscious and appear mainly in large mass media and beyond, and include numbers, words, archetypal images, shapes, and also various visual patterns such as vortices. The idea that derives from synchromysticism is that there are very important coincidences in everyday life, but also the media, cinema, etc., which do not only reveal possible truths, but perhaps lead to possible realities that emerge from the collective unconscious and turn into potential reality. And this, of course, happens because we expand the accepted frames of reality first in movies and in general our art and philosophy. Our ideas about reality, after all, ultimately determine the reality we will experience. For example, Jake Kotz looked for signs of synchronicity in the events of the Twin Towers in 9/11, which was perhaps the worst attack humanity has ever seen. And through these, Kotz argues that the language of esoteric symbolism in the Twin Towers is analogous to that of Solomon's Temple, Mecca, or the pyramids of Egypt, the Parthenon, as well as other such structures, which in a sense functioned as vortices to higher dimensions. For skeptics, these synchronistic patterns that are embedded in everyday life are something normal, since those who are passionate about synchronicity usually come across such cases all the time. But for him, these signs concern an atopic mind that guides the universe. The human mind cannot necessarily create the phenomena that synchromysticism reveals. I disagree with him with that. Even the ancients knew that the human mind is capable of a lot. Now, these patterns, he says, come from the same force that forms everything in the universe, the same principle that forms when consciousness integrates with your innermost thought. Kotz's study boosted the publicity Hendrik Palmgren's article had received on the Red Ice Creations website, as well as other sites such as Ben Farley's Battling the Behemoth. The online community of synchromysticism is not new, since there are several websites abroad that have dealt with the issue. Of course, synchromysticism, although relatively fresh compared to other philosophical beliefs, is based on fundamental spiritual systems such as shamanism. In modern times, the ideas contained in synchronism have been based on the ideas of pioneering spiritualists such as Madame Blavatsky, William Burroughs, Aleister Crowley, James Joyce, Carl Jung, Stanley Kubrick, Timothy Leary, John Lilly, Terence McKenna, and many more. A typical example of how synchromysticism is different from other forms of synchronicity is the focus on inner mystical symbolism, but also the use of technology to record, share, and ultimately compare synchronicities associated with symbols from ancient tradition and appearing in the media. However, beyond its certain connection with the media, Jung's psychology and the occult, this field is directly related to the psychedelic experience and conspiracy theories. A relatively well-known example of synmistic writing is James Shelby's downward study of the Kennedy assassination, entitled King Kill 33, Downward Study, made famous by Marilyn Manson's piece of the same title, and in it a huge number of symbolic elements and correlations are collected, which lead him to the conclusion that the assassination of the President of the USA was in fact a Masonic ritual, he said. The Masonic aspect in the semiology revealed the Synchromysticism is clearly manifested in the articles and books of many authors, most notably Robert Anton Wilson, who in particular in Cosmic Trigger, The Final Secret of the Illuminati, wrote in detail on the subjects of synchronicity, conspiracy of the magic. For conjurers like cults, coincidence and synchronicities are not so important as the possible message they emanate. It's through them, probably through theories such as communication with the conscious universe and the suspicion that we may be drawn to specific patterns and symbols due to genetic memory embedded in our DNA. Many of the many writers, bloggers, and artists associated with the mystic community is Peter Joseph, creator of Zeitgeist, the documentary that shook many people's conscience in 2007. As an indication of the growing popularity of coincidences and synchromysticism, several films have been chosen to deal with the issue, such as 2007's The Number 23. This movie is nothing more than a Hollywood simplistic version of the huge issue that synchromysticism reveals, that even if by chance important elements of synchronicity are included in it, which even resemble a paradoxical phenomena of 11:11. The same filmmaker even worked on Aronofsky's Fountain, the same director's Pi, which perfectly reveals a man's obsession with the mystical significance of numbers and how they are incorporated into patterns of synchronicity. Some conspiracy theorists are suspicious of synchromysticism because they consider it to be a New Age escape from more important issues of humanity. But synchromysticism is not a substitute for parapolitical research, but a fascinating aspect of the mysticism of man's everyday life, which reveals well-hidden secrets and conspiracies that trap man in a gloomy reality. The point of such research and approach is to discover the truth, regardless of where it leads. If one discovers certain synchronistic patterns that contain hidden messages, then one should not ignore them just because they do not lend themselves to logical explanations. Synchromysticism does not necessarily reveal only the manipulation of man by secret societies, but neither does it exclude them. Whether we believe in the occult side of synchromysticism or not, synchromysticism is an interesting psychological, anthropological, philosophical, and quantum field understanding. Synchromysticism reinforces the hyper-connectedness of all humans and every living being and urges us to reinterpret social reality in order to decode ourselves and, if possible, the universe itself. And if we use synchromysticism as a new language, quote-unquote, or a tool, then we may be able to predict trends developing in the collective unconscious, the noosphere, the morphogenetic fields that surround us, etc. We may not be able to create a better world if we cannot control how we perceive or shape reality. Synchromysticism is perhaps a tool that will unlock those trends and thought forms that lead to a better future and a different reality that will bring about the conscious evolution of man. Synchromysticism tips. An author who has dealt with still deals with synchromysticism in his books, Thanasis Vambos. Check out some of his books. This is from MindHack. I've translated this from a Greek article. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.